This week on the Riff, Martz and Drew talk money, but not in the weird, awkward way, more like the why does this matter to my life way. We hope today is helpful. Thanks for listening.
What's up? Welcome to another episode of
The Riff.
We timed that perfect.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. And I do find it funny. One of the first things that we did whenever we sat down in the studio is we started talking about all of our ailments now that we're kind of old. Like my back, I was playing basketball this morning with some youngins and my back hurts. I can't take a full breath.
Yeah.
And then
That's a problem.
you've got a problem.
Yeah, my neck hurts because I slept on the wrong pillow.
Wait, did you sleep on your wife's pillow?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
Wow.
Yeah. And I made an accusation this morning. I was like, I think you slept on my pillow. She's like, no, you slept on my pillow. She's accurate. I went to sleep first, so it's on me.
Unbelievable.
Neck hurts. Can't go that way all the way right now because,
First off, that would never happen in my household.
What's the...
No, Mel is very specific about her pillow. I could never, and I would never, even I wouldn't sleep on her side of the bed. That's just not how those things work.
I have here's the problem. I've been trying to find the perfect pillow for the last 10 years.
Mel's been on that search.
So I have 6 different pillows.
Yes.
That's a problem.
We have, and I think every pillow works. So that's where I have no problem with it. Mel has been very inundated with, we got to try this one. And each pillow, the problem is the pillows range from $10 to $100.
Yeah, you go
and
way
you're
over $100 on a pillow.
Yeah,
hey,
that's
you spend
crazy.
8 hours of your day with that thing.
I understand it.
Pillows, shoes, these are all important things to be done well.
Wait, what shoes you got on?
Just these. They're all right.
Are they comfortable?
Yeah.
Oh,
They are.
okay.
But yeah, your head's on that thing. Your dome. That's the main point. You're resting your dome
Your
on
neck.
that. Your neck, your dome and your neck.
Yeah.
All night long. You better find the right one.
I can see how that's important.
The problem is the algorithm knows me, and it probably knows Mel too, where it's this person's a sucker. They'll buy a $100 pillow.
I am a sucker for those
then
things.
Then it's the skeleton. All right, see the angle of your neck.
Yeah, it's fixing your scoliosis, basically.
Yeah. It's do you have worries and stresses in your life? Yeah. You probably need a new pillow. You're right.
That's it. They just know you so well.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh man.
How's life without your wisdom teeth? Or tooth?
I feel lighter. And it went well. So
shout out Dr. Martens.
Shout out. He was quick and smooth, and I got out of there and I worked a full day. Didn't affect me at all.
This guy
didn't
had
affect
a
me at all.
wisdom teeth pulled, sutured up.
Did not
went
affect
back
me.
to work.
Didn't affect me. Now it did affect. I had a couple conversations with people, and I had some gauze in my mouth and a little bit of blood, just here on, and so that didn't get pointed out to me till the end of the day.
Yeah, it came in on a connection card actually that weekend. It was pray for Martz. He seems to be not well.
Something seems to be wrong with him.
He's off.
Nah, I was feeling good. I was feeling real good that day. But hey, I did want to talk about something today. Okay. We were in a meeting right before this, and we were walking through really generosity. What does that look like in your life? What does that look like in my life? And we're talking about all these things that we want to do here at North Point, that we're hey, I feel like God's positioned us to be able to make this kind of impact in our community. And I just believe we have generous people at North Point, and it's been incredible to be a part. I've been inspired so much by people's generosity, and it's really been a catalyst for my generosity.
Yeah.
But I also know that was a lot of my upbringing as well.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, some people are hey, I don't like talking about money. Other people are I have no problem talking about money. Where do you land?
I'm in the no problem talking about money
category,
just in life.
I probably landed on the other side.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated on what that's looked like for you.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not just about church and money, just in general. To me, I picked up a passion for personal finance and investing and all that stuff, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, where I just got really passionate about it and wanted to figure out how it worked and all of that. And it was just having 401ks and all that in my 20s. And then, okay, what are all these funds and what do they do and why should I choose them? And so to me, watching some of those things happen and then was always interesting. So to me, understanding how do you build I just wanted to be financially smart. I just had a passion for it. I think from a generosity money standpoint, I grew up in a home that was we were a Dave Ramsey-ish family. My dad was a pastor, so my dad normally had 2 jobs, so he was doing bivocational for a long time. So pastor by day, he was selling motorhomes, he was selling alarm systems, he was a sales guy. He's always flipping cars, back in the day, he was buying cars at auctions and selling them out of the driveway and Craigslist and all that. So Yeah, so there's always like multiple, like trying to make it happen, you know? And so same thing for us, but you know, from a young age, it was like, hey, you're going to have a lot of love in this house, but you're not going to have a college fund. So get good grades and figure it out. Got a job when I was, I think just when I turned 15, got a job at a barbecue restaurant. And the first time I got a paycheck with my name on it, I was like, oh, it symbolized like freedom to me. And then I could save, and then I bought a car and the whole thing. And so anyway, to me, like I always had that association of like, man, if you be smart with this, then it'll be good. But my parents had I remember my mom, like we get an allowance for like chores. And then we had an envelope that said, spend, one that said save, and one that said tithe.
Oh yeah.
And so we were like, from the time I was elementary school, I was a tithing kid, and I would put 1/10 of every dollar I got in an envelope. My parents were like big on instilling that principle in me that the first thing goes to God. And so I just kind of lived my whole life like that. You know, I didn't really think about it another way. Obviously you have seasons where you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that anymore. And I wouldn't be someone who's going to cross on a very legalistic line of that subject. I think it's a principle. I think it exists. I think it's real. I think first fruits matters. It goes all the way through the Bible. Like God does care how you treat all of your resource, your time, your energy, your money, all of it, you know? And so to me, I think all those things are principles that where your treasure is, your heart is, you know? So I think all those things biblically matter. It makes sense to me. I also personally I know what it's like to have no money and be broke. I know what it's like to have more money than I need. And I've been on that roller coaster a couple times in life. And so, I remember I was in Bible college, like just literally running down my checking account down to like, I was in a commission sales gig selling phones for T-Mobile. Yeah, some months I'd crush it and I was like, I'm spending money. Then other months I was like literally like borrowing cups of Easy Mac from my roommate to survive till my next payday. So, just, you know, been through all those ups and downs. And so for me, I never had a hard time talking about it or learning, because I always like learning about it. I want to be educated and informed on all things financial stuff.
Yeah, I grew up very similar. We called it the 10-10-80 plan.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that is a plan or if that's just something my dad made up. But from a very young age, it was always, and it didn't matter if you made $10 from your birthday. It's like, all right, let's split this puppy up, and $1 goes to your savings account. I had a savings account from a kid, like as a kid, and then a dollar goes to God. Yep. And then you get to keep the other, and it is strongly suggested that you save more than 10. So
yes,
that was kind of and I'm so thankful for that, because later on in my life, I'm like, oh man, I benefited from that. And I've really never wavered from that. Yeah. A little bit of if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of deal. But I've always been fascinated in how other people manage their money, right? Yeah. That's been cool to watch. It's cool to ask questions about. I don't necessarily love talking about money, but I am fascinated on how I can leverage that which God has given me better.
Totally.
And money is just a fascinating thing, because there's the famous line, no one knows who's been skinny dipping until the tide comes in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like someone can
tide
live.
Goes out.
Is that it? Out.
I don't know.
I think it's out.
Yeah,
I think you're
tide
right.
Goes out. Yeah.
Famous line, John Martz. No. It is one of those things where you don't know, someone could look very well put together on the outside, and they make a lot of money, and they haven't saved any money to be generous. Right. Or saved any money for a rainy day, right? And the same principle can be true of someone who makes very little, but is a fantastic steward of that what God has given him.
Totally.
And I always knew I'm not going to make a lot of money. I just, especially being in the church world, I'm like, hey, I know that my goal in life, money is not going to be the motivator, but here's what I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be the thing that holds me back from doing the things that I know God wants me to do.
Right.
And so as a church, I think we're in that same position of, hey, I don't want this to be the motivator of why we do what we do. I don't want this to be the, let's just build a bigger building. Let's get a bigger barn where we can store more wheat. But it is this, we want to be opportunistic for what God's placed in our heart, in our direction. And if we know that's something that's needed in our city, we want to be the first person they call. Yeah. And we want to be the first person to step up and say, we can do something.
Right. Yeah. No, I think Kristen and I used to call our savings account our Say Yes Fund, because we had a similar journey in a sense where I always felt like I was going to be called to be a pastor at some point. And I'm like, well, that means, no one goes into this for the money. But so we always save money. I started making more money than I thought I would or could, and so I was like, well, we can do that. We can buy a bigger house. We can buy nicer cars. We can do all these things. And the lifestyle creep comes in your personal finance. If you're young in your early career, you're starting to see some success. The temptation is always like, okay, well, now I actually can buy a nicer car and I can afford a second car payment, or I can do those things if you wanted to. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so for us, like, we had a discipline of just saving money, and we would call it our Say Yes Fund. It was like, we don't know when God's going to direct us somewhere. We don't know when the Lord's going to, like, maybe he's going to call us to be missionaries. Kristen went to Africa on a mission trip one time, and she was like, I always felt like I'd go back again. I'm like, well, I want to make sure that we've got enough set aside so if an opportunity to go to Africa comes back, we can say yes. And so the ability to say yes because you have saved is awesome. In your personal finance, in your corporate finance, like in church finance, we want to be able to say yes at any point to things because we've got the means to do it. When you extend yourself personally, or where every dollar's got a name, where it's like, well, my paycheck comes in one day and all my payments go out the next, and I'm back to zero every month. You can't say yes to anything new. And I always wanted to be able to say yes to anything that God put in front of us personally, because we had a means to do it, Whereas there's times I felt like the Lord, like, hey, like, put on my heart to be generous in certain ways, but literally just money wasn't there personally. And I'm like, man, I don't know how to do this, And so I had a couple of experiences. I'm like, I always want to be able to say yes. And so, like, to me, the savings account wasn't like building a bigger barn so I could, like, look at a bigger savings account or investment account. It was more like, I want to say yes to whatever God puts in front of us, and we've been able to do that strategically a couple times. So anyway, I just think it's like it's a principle of, like, if you look at money as just a tool, it's not your status, it's not your importance, it's not a success measurement. Dollar bills aren't fun coupons. Like, it's a tool. And you can use it however you want to, but if you view it as like, all right, God's given me this tool to use, it just changes your relationship to how you think about money personally and corporately as well.
How does that look? Now that you're in this role, you're looking at things financially and saying, okay, is it a one-to-one kind of, hey, this is how I've approached my personal finances, this is how we're going to steward this as a church? What's that look like?
I think so personal finance and corporate finance are always different. There's certain principles that matter differently, but you can also simplify things down by just knocking zeros off of it. Large organizations, if you're reading a financial statement, sometimes it feels like not even real numbers. And like, I used to work for like a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's like, it doesn't even seem like a real number, but hey, knock some zeros off of all of that, and it starts to make sense more of like, okay, to someone who just thinks about personal finance. So one of them is budgets are always bigger in any large organization versus what yours is. I think principles apply. I think there's biblical principles that still apply. I think being smart with money, certain things like the borrower is slave to the lender. That's in Proverbs. And it's like, that is a mentality. Like, when you have debt, it does change the way you think about things personally, but also corporately. Now, most people, like, if you own a house, most people listening to this own a house, they say they own the house, but they actually have debt on the house, right? And so there are elements of that where most organizations have debt. Our church has debt. We've also got huge buildings, similar to, like, most people have. If you own a house, you've got a house, so you have debt on the house and the whole concept. But are you going to be an owner or renter? Are you going to have debt, cash? A lot of those same principles still apply to both. And so, for me, if I can, one thing I learned early on, and this would be a personal finance thing for people, is a simple way to look at it. A guy told me one time, he was like, wealthy people earn more interest than they pay. And this is one lens to look at, like, how much interest are you paying on your debt? So if you're going to have debt somewhere, what is the interest payment on that debt? Like, if you looked at your mortgage or your car payment, how much of that monthly dollar amount is going to just straight paying interest? That you're paying the bank for the right to borrow money on that. He was like, if you have cash money personally that's actually earning more interest because you've got it invested in certain things, or maybe you've got different real estate or things that are actually income producing assets, if you're leveraging that debt to create more dollars and interest coming to you than you're paying out, then you're going to be okay in the long run. He was like, when you've got more interest dollars going out than you have coming in, then those assets are actually bigger liabilities. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that was a simple way for me to frame it. And it's like, how do I build a world where whatever personal finance I have is accruing more interest than I am paying out? Then 20 years from now, I'll be wealthier than poorer, whatever that ratio looks like. And so when I thought about debt in my own personal life, that's how I've looked at it. Like, if you're going to go buy a house, get a mortgage, it's painful. If you ever signed a 30-year mortgage on a house, that first 7 or 8 years, you're like, oh, I still owe the same amount, Yeah. But look at all that's going out to interest. Can you offset that with other investments that you have? And so And again, I could talk about this for a long time, but to me, that was an interesting like framework to think about. It's like, okay, if you have debt, great, but how are you leveraging that debt to make an impact? And so most church buildings would have debt on them. Ours do. Like if you're part of the Nixa team, like, we just built that building in Nixa in 23. Well, we owe money on it, right? But are we generating things through that building that are making kingdom impact that we feel good about? Yes. Would I love to not have any debt? Also, yes. And so, but those are those ways, your relationship with how you think about debt, income, finance, and impact, and then opportunities by having that facility, do we have an opportunity to impact more people? 100%. How big was the Nixa campus before we moved buildings? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, it was about half to a quarter of the size that it is now.
Yeah.
So, maybe a third is what I would probably go with. A third of the size of what it is right now.
So we basically doubled the amount of families and people that we're reaching. And I know in youth specifically, like it's grown quite a bit. So we're impacting more families, serving more people, inviting more people in to find and follow Jesus. And that building is a tool that we could not have gotten to that without that. And so all of those things, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's an avenue for impact is what it becomes.
I think money's tough because it's very easy to take it and twist it. And like when, even from a church standpoint, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do with that money? Is it to build a bigger building? And sometimes the reality is like, if this allows us to be a safe place to help people find and follow Jesus, then that's needed. Now, here's what we don't want. We don't want a museum. We don't want something that isn't used, that isn't like,
right.
I don't mind our buildings getting dirty. I don't mind there being walls that need to be painted and things that need to be fixed. I don't want to look sloppy. That's not being a good steward of what God's given us. At the same time, I have no problem looking at our building, and there's flaws, and there's it's never going to make it in Architectural Digest. I'm okay with that because that's not the purpose of it.
Right.
It's not to look really cool. It's to do God work through it, and not even inside of it, but it can be that spot that people come, they fill up to go back out into their communities and actually make an impact and share Jesus with people.
Yeah.
And so it is always thinking through, and it is easy to just look like, what a big building. I wonder how much that, it is easy to get skeptical. And I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of nonprofits. I'm skeptical of churches.
Everyone is.
Yet it is natural to be that way. And then coming on the inside and I guess the term is seeing how the sausage is made. It's like, it is cool being on the inside scoop of North Point because I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the Dream Center.
Yep.
I'm very proud of the way that we give back. I'm very proud of our campuses.
Yeah.
And the way that they handle those funds. I'm very proud of our Kid Point environment.
Yeah.
And the way that they leverage that to show Jesus to kids and care for them in such a way where parents can fully engage in Jesus on a weekend as well, and then partner with them to be able to do that. It is one of those things where I feel like if I wasn't proud, I would have left.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you're kind of newer coming in. I don't know what your expectations were or what your thoughts were, but I'm curious of a couple things. You mentioned no debt. I'm like, okay, if we didn't have debt, which that's a wild dream, right?
Yeah.
But if we didn't have no debt, it's not just to have no debt. What would that allow us to do?
Yeah. It's more community impact. It's more a higher percentage of every dollar going straight to people, straight to the gospel, straight to reaching into our communities, and to me, there's freedom. I personally, I owe money on my house, but one day I won't. That's going to be awesome. I would, if you're listening to this now, if maybe you are in that place where, you don't have maybe you've paid your house off. That's great. And how awesome does that probably feel, So I think it's the same way organizationally, it'd feel the same way of hey, and it gives you freedom to do what you need to do. It's higher level of impact, all those things would be awesome, make a difference. So you said a word, stewardship. Define that word. What does that mean to you? Yeah,
it's just taking what God has given to you and essentially giving it back to him. So, and here's what I found, right? Anytime that I take something, it was never really mine to begin with, but anytime I take something that is mine and I give it to God, I just believe when it gets in his hands, it's blessed. He blesses it. And a lot of times he gives it back and sometimes he doesn't. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And so even for giving, I'm I grew up with just I'm so thankful for the understanding that I had of it, that it's not hey, if you write this check, then you're going to get a check in the mail with that same amount. That would have been very manipulative. That would have honestly, that would have served me poorly. And I think I could come up with a myriad of different reasons on why that's not the case. Generosity doesn't work.
Right.
This thing isn't, but when I do look at my life, like I am very thankful for just the understanding of what stewardship looks like, of, hey, this wasn't yours to begin with.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, like, then how do you treat it? And, how do you leave a place better than you found it? How do you make sure that one day, like, stewardship is like, hey, I'm gonna have to show somebody what I did with this.
Yeah.
And I want to be proud of it. And it's not out of like a fear tactic of like, and I hope I do really good. And I hope we've all heard the parable of the talents, right? I don't want to be the one that buries my talent, and just, so it's not a fear thing. It's just coming back and saying, hey, I just know that I want to be proud of what I did with this. And it's the same thing in dating and marriage. It's the same thing in your work. It's the same thing in your finances, that you're telling a story. And I don't want you to have to lie about that story.
Yeah.
I want you to be proud of that story.
Yeah.
And whenever like you show that, like, again, when the tide goes out, like I want it to be a thing where it's like, I never imagined I could be this generous with what you've given me.
Totally.
Like, that's so fun. I've never regretted being generous. I've never regretted.
Same.
Like, I have regretted, like, if you look at your house and you see all the things and possessions that you have and you equate that to dollars and you're like, at one time that was a dollar amount. Like, that's sickening a little bit to see that. And that's, it's hard to feel like you're a good steward sometimes when you think that way. But it is important to like have that lens, but then shifting it and saying, God, I love the say yes fund, right? Like, what do you want me to say yes to? And actually like going about your day thinking about that.
Yeah. Because how many times have you like wanted to be generous or helpful to someone and you're like, you just can't, because you're like, I'm broke. I got to feed my own kids. Like, if you can go to those spaces where it would be awesome. Like, we have extremely generous people in around North Point that sometimes will step up and just do things financially for people in the church that not a lot of people can do. And it's like, well, God's given them, the Bible says that some people have like a gift of giving. And it's like, there are people who have just a gift of making money and they're great at doing it. And then they're like wildly generous in the most anonymous ways. You have no idea. Like to me, I'm like, man, that'd be awesome to be able to do that, But I think like when you talk about stewardship, I think about like the idea of what you said it, but it's like, but it wasn't mine to begin with. A steward is someone who's managing something that belongs to someone else. Like, they own it, I'm stewarding it. Like, so I'm managing it on behalf of somebody else. So when you talk about biblical stewardship, like, we think about all of our life, not just our money, is a gift from God. My days, my years, I even think about my kids. I think about every arena of my life. I'm a steward. My life doesn't belong to me. And I'm going to manage my time, even the things that my giftings and talents, the things that I'm good at doing, that God gave me that gift. He wired me the way he wired. He made me, but the gift he's put in me, it doesn't belong to me. God gave me that. It's his. Like, when I believe it all belongs to him, and that, again, the televangelist will just talk only about money, but I'm going to say all of your life. So yes, your possessions and all of those things and your time, and when it all belongs to him and I'm just managing it on his behalf, I begin to think about it. Well, what would he do with this? Like, what would, and then you begin to think like Jesus thinks. You begin to hear what he hears, and like, how do you see this? If I'm holding it, I'm like, hey, how can I best manage this? And the better that I know God, the better that I've cultivated that relationship with him, I can start to think about things. Well, I know what he would do. You know what I mean? There's certain things like I know what, like we were just talking about the pillow thing. You're like, there's no way I could sleep on Mel's pillow because I know that she would yank that thing out and be like what she would say. So it changes how you behave. You wouldn't even dream of taking her pillow.
Yeah, I don't.
So why? Because you know her and you know what she would say. You know what she would do. So you act differently. Like, when I genuinely know God, like, when the knowledge of God is the thing that really motivates me, and I'm like, oh, this is how he would think about this. This is how he sees that person. This is how, this is how he would think about it. Then you can make decisions that align with your resource, with what God would do. And again, when I say resource, I'm not just talking about your money. I am talking about your money, but I'm also talking about your time. Like certain things, like, like, how are you spending your time? How are you involved in the community? How are you living arrows out? We talk about being invested in the unconvinced. How does Jesus see that person that you work with? All of it. I'm a steward of my life. It doesn't belong to me. None of it. He created me. He formed me, and so all my resource, everything I have ultimately belongs to him. That radically changes how you think about everything. And then you do invest differently. And then for me, accumulating financial wealth or financial like independence, like that mission that I had for a lot of years was like, well, I want to do that not because I want to make Drew's name great or I want to like live on an island someday. I'm like, no, I want to be able to be radically generous with what I have, and even the idea of like getting out of debt, for a lot of people, it's not about money, it's about time. It's like, okay, well, if I could get out of debt, then I could actually go like if you ever follow the FIRE movement, the financially independent retire early, it's an entire community. They call them the FIRE people, where it's like their whole concept is to get financial independence, and they'll live like crazy scrappy to not have payments. So they're like, well, I don't care if you live in a small, tiny house out in the country somewhere, or a mansion. It's like the whole point is not to have obligation to people. Mm-hmm. When my time and money is all obligated to everything other than the Lord, then it's like, well, wait a minute, I don't have freedom to say yes. And so anyway, like even people who want to get financially free and they want to get to a place where maybe I own my house outright, or I don't have payments, or I've got I've got investments now that are funding my lifestyle. Now what they have is not even maybe a ton of money. They have time. They have themselves to give to whatever they're passionate about and whatever they care about. And so anyway, like to get to a place where at whatever age or stage you're in, you could think about what would I do if I had the radical ability to say yes to Jesus with everything, whether that's accumulate a ton of money to be able to give generously to people who don't have it, or whether that's the ability to have all of your time back to then go work 50 hours a week for nothing, or for a very, to go work for less because you're passionate about doing it. Like it's all say yes, and it aligns what you have to who God is, and then you view everything about your life as like something for him to use, including your finances.
All right, let me throw a couple situations your way, and this is unfair, but it's just in you. So I feel like you'll be able to speak to it. But okay, I'm 18 years old. I am not generous. That's not the way I've grown up. And I make very little.
Yeah.
What would be a step toward generosity in your eyes that you're like, hey, this would be helpful? Or, hey, I was in that position at 18 and here's what I did.
Yeah. So one of my fallbacks for me, just how I'm wired, and this is going to sound like something a pastor would say, is be a tither. Like take 10% of your money and earmark it for God. And whether you're giving that to your local church or whether you're taking that money to bless somebody else, I don't care about the destination as much at that age. I want the principle in you to be someone who gives. And whether that is $10 a month or $1,000 a month, do something for somebody else with what you can. And that might look like picking up the meal for somebody behind you in the drive-through line at Chick-fil-A. Just do it. Like bless somebody and get no credit for it, however small that looks. And do it with your money. I would tell every 18-year-old to do that. I would also tell them to open up a Roth
IRA.
A Roth IRA.
Come on, baby.
And throw that sucker in an S&P index
try to
funds
max that out.
And forget that you have it.
Absolutely.
Go to
Fidelity, Vanguard. It doesn't matter. You open up an account, Roth IRA.
Don't overthink it.
Put some money in.
Get a Roth IRA and drop it in an index fund and forget that you have it. Go to a compound interest calculator and look at what $100 a month would do for you at the age of 60. You'll be like blown away. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Like I think
this is feeling like a Ramsey podcast.
Dude,
now.
I'm sorry.
Here we go. Come on.
Yeah. Rice and beans, Martz.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, what you got to do, get yourself a pizza route,
Rice and beans, beans and rice.
I know the economics are different. That's like the Ramsey knock right now. He acts like it's 1986 still. But the principles matter, and find a way to invest and save, live on less than what you make, and you will be free one day.
Walk me through. Okay, I'm a millennial and I just bought a house, and maybe I had to reach to be able to do that. But married, I've got a young kid. This probably, I've had some generosity principles in the past, but I don't know what is possible for me in the future. How would you approach that?
Again, I would tell someone, whether you go to North Point or not, I don't care. Be a tither. I would tell you to do that as a friend. I would recommend 10 out of 10. You're never going to hear me get legalistic and weird about that from the pulpit on a Sunday. But if you're my friend, I'm going to tell you it's a principle. Find a way to do it. And if you got to start at 1%, 2%, fine, sure, do it. But like that first fruits principle of like, hey, everything I have belongs to God. Where your treasure goes, your heart goes. And so there's this element of like, if you can rewire your heart to be someone who views it as God's, and do it through actions, not just theory, It'll change your life. Give what you can, and don't beat yourself up over it. Don't be a legalistic weird person who believes that because you didn't give this month that, like, don't get strange. If you're listening to preachers like that, don't get weird. Like, don't do that. But consider an invitation. A guy who's inviting you into trust at a deeper level, blow your mind. Also, like, don't go into debt for things you don't need. Do not keep up with the Joneses. The Joneses are broke and you don't know it. Like your whole thing, there's a lot of people around that look like they've got a lot of money that don't. But we all do it. I mean, I'm more prone to it than a lot of people. But if my neighbor gets a newer car, I want a newer car. If my neighbor has a new doohickey, I want a new doohickey.
What's a doohickey?
I don't know.
I like it though. I thought I was missing out on something I needed.
I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. That's Ariel from Little Mermaid.
I've never heard that. Okay.
Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete?
I knew you were going to sing this episode. I just knew it.
For singing.
Okay, I got last one. I'm 50 years old. I retired early. I have been so blessed. What would be your thought on generosity? What would that look like?
Ensure you're good, actually, at 50, because things get expensive. Take care of your body, because healthcare is a lot of people get financially rich but don't take care of their body.
True.
And healthcare is the number one cost that will deplete anything you saved later in life. So take care of your body and be really sure that you've got what you need.
Let's say this. 70. I have a ton of money and I just don't trust a lot of organizations.
Go hang out at the Dream Center and go watch it.
Yes.
Go watch it. We need to do we could do a better job of telling that story, but go watch what we're doing to help real people who have real needs in that space. I would say this for everyone. If you're skeptical on money, go give your time. Give your time first. And if you can't do that, then you've got a heart issue. But give your time. Find a place to go give your time and get exposed to the needs of other people. Know what it feels like for God to use you to bless somebody else. That's where my life actually changed. Like, my story, we'll get to another day, another time. But like, when God used me to reach somebody else for the first time and I really felt it, that's when I got radically serious about following Jesus, because I knew that he could work through me to reach other people. There is no more fulfilling feeling in life than God using you to touch somebody else, and you drive away thinking like, whoa, God just worked through me for someone else, and I got to participate with God in impacting that person, whether it's volunteering your time or giving $1. Like, give your time first until your heart catches a vision for what you could be a part of, and then give.
Riff, whether it's time, talent, resources, money, go be a great steward.
And find some doohickeys. Gadgets and gizmos aplenty.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.